Howdy, we'll give it 30 seconds, see if anybody pops in. I'm just sitting with whatever that is. Is that God? I don't know. Freemasons say that that's a distraction. The sun and the moon are to take you away from God, and everything is to take you away from God. While they have the fake Saturn black star up there, driving us all to the lowest realm. And then now we all tell each other it's cool to be like that. You know what I'm saying? But, okay, 45 seconds. Hey guys, for the people tuning in later, I had some things I felt were really important to share because I know I get a lot of messages now. I popped off, man. People have been like, I think I have 400, 500 people that tune in at least once a week. They watch one of my long form videos, and I'm not proud of my videos. The videos are more, I want to show people the growth over time. I want people to see how I change. I want people to be able to look through and identify how he's acting and what were his influences, what was holding him back, what was keeping him from certain things, and how did that change over time? What changed those things? I subjected myself to the worst form of the human experience, which is violence, prejudice, and the psychological aspects, like gang stalking. And not gang stalking like a satanic cult is after you. I mean gang stalking like an entire town is talking about when somebody's finally gonna kill you. You know? So, a big thing that came to me today after I left that environment and I found a new place to hang out. Seems nice. I've been cutting down dead trees, working on making something. Is that Marcus Aurelius said, reject your sense of injury and the injury itself disappears. A big part of society is just whatever it turned out to be here, is that a big thing that people do, I've noticed, is they assign labels. Back in the day, the secret stuff is that kings and wealthy people, part of their practice was to hire people to work around their property, specifically because there was an exchange of energy through those relationships, and you could do more with the role and the archetype that you achieve through things like hiring a hermit to sit in your garden and ponder and think about things, philosophize. Even if he doesn't want to, he just has to look like he's doing it. Because over time, there's that flow that sends that information to that vessel, and the soul works with what it's given and restructures. So they were growing their garden, so to speak. Now, where we're at, now what society's become is that in order to degrade people, in order to maintain their delusional self, which is what they use sort of like social commerce, the exchange of information through their identity and reputation in the community. The way they keep that afloat is that they have this collective delusion that they all perpetuate, and that's called culture. So for people that don't want to live that way, people that identify as chosen ones, people that identify as spiritual, people that say that there's something they have that makes everybody angry with them, you know, um, those communities having a fluid identity, not based around ego, turns you into what Rick Rubin, I heard it from Rick Rubin, he calls a disruptor. People that there's this culture, this tangled web, and there are people that completely are separate from it, but then they move through with a new culture, a new set of information. And then to the people that aren't ready to receive that new information, whether it's like, even just transgenderism versus Catholics, Doesn't necessarily have to be like, I'm not saying that it's like God's righteous truth invading a horrible place. It's just saying that people are starting to think differently and innovate in new ways of reality. So when they go through, it's starting to disrupt everything. So society's always kind of convulsing and restructuring now. For me, I get the crows don't like it. So I get the crows, the cops, the cunts, the creeps, and the crackheads. They feel this disrupted. I'm a 33 disruptor, 11 Sagittarius, bam. So I'm going through. And what they do to people like that is they will try to force you to believe things about yourself that will be a detriment. They will make up things about you. They will lie and cheat and steal from you and try to get in your good graces just to betray you. They try to work their way into your heart space so that they can mangle it, destroy it, and try to put themselves in a position over you so that you feel like now, in order to get back to where you were, you have to climb up their mountain, which the whole time you're sending them energy. Which is why I advocate that everybody, and I've been saying it to people for 2 years now, is that everybody needs to learn how to identify with themselves in a place of isolation where there's nobody around, and then put that pedal to the metal, I guess, test your metal with action. You can't sit there and think your way into being yourself completely when you reject the world. You have to gain the true reality by testing your limits, pushing your limits, identifying your limits, seeing what you can do, and learning that way through your hands, through work, through walking, through exercise, through building things, through creating things, social skills. Every part of the human endeavor, once you've learned this sense of isolation, you have to go with it, or else either way you'll fall into someone you're not. That's what life is. That's time. You know, how time keeps us trapped so that we're forced to move through it linearly so we can go on these hero's journeys. Part of being on Earth for anyone is that you have to do things. You have to go do things. Doing nothing is doing something, but at some point, in any way, you can become separated from true reality. So I wouldn't say you believe in anything or you are anything. I wouldn't stand on anything unless you have that balance and that diversified experience with this practice of self-isolation, self-ostracization, social stuff. My mentor told me in 2021 the best way to come to God and obtain your spiritual gifts and find your higher self is that you have to leave home and your reputation has to be destroyed. For the soul's journey, for somebody that comes to be something greater than everybody else needs to, I wrote this once. To be the hero is to be ostracized. They've been silencing that archetype. And I wrote that before I knew what an archetype meant. That's good. And also, you can't grow unless you're giving yourself the proper ingredients to fund or fuel that growth. You do not have an opinion on anything unless you have that foundation of taking care of yourself. Because whether we like it or not, we live in a world that's centered around the detriment of the human spirit. to drive you out of focus, to hollow you out, destroy your ability to identify with self, and then constantly fill you with distractions, chaos, and things that perpetuate that system more. So it is, in a sense, literal possession. And it is overall the elements. I wanted to say 5 elements: fire, water, air, earth, and ether, which is like the electromagnetic spectrum. That sort of higher vibrational light you feel at night sometimes when you, all of a sudden, it sort of like invigorates your body and it feels kind of white and crystalline, and that's aether. And then water is your like emotional self, your deep. Air is like the information, narratives, social structures. Earth is like the physical, your physical body, how your stuff moves through your physical body. And then fire is that generative, creative force when you go to create something. And then the aether is just kind of like this added extra sense into all of it. And that's like the God serum. And that's literally just coming from God. Like, that's coming from something in the forest behind me right now. Like, that literally wrapped around the side of my neck right here and explained that to me. So, yeah, the big thing I got when I was raking is that I was thinking about my dad. And one of the last times I saw my dad, he called me. And I don't know if he called me on purpose, which was like a really pathetic way to do it, but he called me during a therapy session where he was talking to his therapist about how much his son hates him because he's just such a piece of shit. Oh my God, I'm just such a bad guy and my son hates me, and my life sucks. And either he butt dialed me or he called me, or the demon had sort of taken out the trauma and everything, had taken him from being in control of himself, and then God stepped in for a second because of his lack of control, and while he wasn't paying attention, found my phone number in his contacts and hit the button. I don't know. But he called me, and then there was this big like pause where my dad looked at the phone and was like, "Oh, I'm on the phone with my son." And I was like, "Yeah, you could have called me any day." So the thing that I usually saw about my dad is that he's a Leo. So of course it's going to be the I am this, I am that, I am. And that you can obviously see that his life had tormented him into a self-doubt. I am this, and then instead of I am this, it became a negative thing. He started dwelling on the negative thing. So it was kind of just, my soul was just like churning me to say, stop identifying as an alcoholic, stop identifying as a pathetic piece of garbage, or whatever any one of you think about yourself, and start identifying with things that add a level of responsibility to your life. Like saying I'm a mother or a father. Stop saying I'm this, and kind of grab onto that responsibility. Like, to me, the huge shift that Spirit wanted me to recognize is to stop saying I'm a tormented soul and start realizing that I'm generating content for people who probably are going through things I don't understand, and that I'm probably blessed to be in this position where I have the time to think about it. Like, stop identifying with my suffering and not doing anything about it, basically. Grab onto that responsibility. Yeah, I'm suffering, but also it is true that I just laid down and sat there a lot longer than I needed to, and I didn't apply myself. And just like a half hour of working with my hands out here, clearing up this forest space to try to I'm off the property line, and I have a place where nobody will bother me unless they're real pieces of shit about it. Like, I'm just here making another space in the forest look nicer and cleaning up the dead stuff. Preparing for a world where the Mark of the Beast system will make us impossible to go buy things from the grocery store without the Mark of the Beast. So I'm preparing for a world where there's going to be a mass exodus of people who aren't going to be with that time, and they're probably going to have to make it all the way up to Saskatchewan or down to Rio de Janeiro or somewhere like on a boat off the coast of Miami. And instead of trying to immigrate to the US, everybody's going to be trying to get to somewhere else. Because artificial intelligence, which a guy went on Tucker Carlson, I think, so yesterday I went down into town and 4 different people came up to me. One of them saw me in the news and was talking about Barron Trump's the last president. So I told her, yeah, that's Satanists sending messages to each other about rituals and preparing everyone across the global sphere without internet of what's to come. Then the next guy I talked to gave me that jacket, or that sweater, and he talked to me about ancient cults and how they target bloodlines. This is just what people, I guess that day, that's what people were interested in. I don't know. So some guy walked up and talked about ancient cults in the movie Hereditary, which I've been talking about. Maybe he knows my channel, but he wanted to tell me about how ancient cults clone people and how they look for people to sacrifice themselves to fame, and then those genetics get harvested and they add it to their, sort of like how AI, and now the birds are chirping over here, so how AI takes in the stimulus of all the information you give it and it grows and refines it to the best possible thing. That's what, like, I'm seeing septic systems, sewer systems, these big spheres of human DNA writhing. You know, where are all the bodies going now? Because I heard that the cemeteries aren't matching with the death rate. There's a lot of bodies that are going missing from the United States. Like, people just, for the amount of deaths that's going on, the cremations and the plots and cemeteries aren't matching up. So there are bodies that we don't know what's happening to them. And part of the thing that's been coming out recently is that though that genetic material has been being harvested for a long time by these systems. And that's why they have robots in the Middle East that when they have these huge bomb sites, they send in robots that harvest the bodies and refine them for genetic material. And whether or not that goes to the McDonald's burgers or not, I know the same math doesn't add it. Like, it kind of lines up pretty well that the deficit in the meat that we're getting from, like, the amount of burgers that's coming out from McDonald's isn't matching up with the amount of animals that are being killed. And also we have the amount of human bodies that are dying that are not making it into crematoriums or graves. So that's a big thing, is that like the Walking Dead post made that thing, we're eating people. Tons of stuff has come out in the past 10 years about how we're eating people while we transition to lab-grown meat just to keep the American people working, because they have us convinced that we're free when really they've enslaved everything down to our ability to think. Even if we took care of ourselves, we would be at war against the system in place. And the only way I can see, I'd have to go see Hawaii, and I'd have to go to Hawaii into the island, into the mountainous parts where there's no people and there's no crows, and stay there for like 2 or 3 months, 2 months, and see how different it is without the presence of the crows. And I think we'll see that there's a higher level of ether, of that fifth element. Because I think the crows taking in the sunlight, and they have all the melanated feathers. I think part of their system in this forest system is that they take it, because their job is to disorient the prey so that they can eat them. Their whole thing, and the reason I don't like them is because they do use the spiritual realm as a way to siphon and harvest all of the potential energy and peace. because with peace you can hit the flow state and you can make better decisions and you can use all of your processing power. So predators that have evolved like crows, they evolved to be able to take that and keep a certain sense of fear in the environment. If you notice, that's why crows hate children, because children are always like, like the huge, spreading that highest pure light, and that is like scratching on a chalkboard to them. It was a good decision to buy this, because this will last me a month, and it was cheaper than anything else I would have bought, and it doesn't hurt my throat the same way. Like, I was trying to sing and I'd end up puking up the loons, but with this I don't get the anxiety, but I get the nicotine stimulation and I get the focus, and I don't get sent into a panic, which is nice. Now we'll test it with the Monster. I was just seeing who'd pop in. I don't know how the quality is. I don't know who you are. If you're Heather, I thanked Brian for... I sat by myself in the woods, in the same way I told you about the ether thing, like God comes through, spirit, it's like a golden light. I don't know if it's Lucifer, the false light, because I know at the end of Revelations, Jesus says he is also Lucifer. There's like hidden coded messages I don't understand. I haven't read the Bible, but whatever way I get inspired, and I don't know where it comes from, I get inspired suddenly. And it's not like my thoughts are generating it. It's like the stars align and suddenly a bright vision of something in my head. And then I see it in real life. Like the last instance, before I get into what I said to Brian, before I did this, I just got an ad on my phone about a course for filmmakers that are independent. And they mentioned people that want to make films by themselves out in the woods. They literally said that. And they also said, when they went on the ad, they go to the references, like, John took our class and this is where he's at. And then John was like, it's a great class. The people was Brian was the first one. It was like, Brian's here and Brian loved it. And then Brian's like, yeah, I took the 14 filmmaker course. And then it was like, and then Kai over here. And then Kai was like, yeah. So we had Brian, Kai, and Frank. So I'm going to take the 14-day filmmaker course, because that'll put me in a community with filmmakers I've been looking for a long time. The whole point of being here is that I wanted to make it a short film. I wanted to start making music videos and build the studio. I haven't found the right food to give me the right feeling I'm talking about. But I know that if you wake up at 4 a.m. and you go for a walk when nobody's around and you think about what you're going to do for that day, and I'm talking like 4 or 5 mile walk, that's a huge cheat code I found. Going on long walks by yourself, where you listen to music and you think about things, where you have no outside external influence like other people, and it's just you and the stars at night, and it's quiet and peaceful. And then you get the whole sunrise all the way to when the sun is up in the air from complete darkness. Most of the things I thought were my mental illness go away. And the only problem that I get then is that my issues with social stuff. But my cognitive deficits disintegrate, and I can reharmonize them easily to think better and incorporate them and actually be myself. When I take long walks in the morning, and then everyone has a passion. They have things that they love to think about. It's always something that's productive. Like for me, it's creating things in my mind. whether that's the Taurus in the first house, Sagittarius in the 8th house, that I love the darkness. And Taurus is like this incarnational force where you're generating your creativity into creating, building something. Some people don't have that, and they're wired, they're just built different. But for me, that's what I'm always churning out, this star in front of me. So I know that if you just developing that practice, that's when you can really notice what's actually holding you back. So I just wanted to say that finding the thing that you love to think about the most and trying to turn it into something productive, finding your place of self-isolation that has to do with movement, not overeating, and then whittling the bacteria and the parasites that are controlling your body down. Controlling your body and pulling it down, keeping you stuck where you lose track of who you really are. And that's when you start to blow up on Facebook and say things you don't mean, and then later you look back like, I can't believe I said that, but then another part of you is like, yeah, I said it, and I'll say it again. That thing is a parasite. That's a demon. It's an entity from outside this realm that's using you, and everyone has them. They get into anyone they can, and there's just no escaping it, other than having a strong foundational sense of self and this discipline that the Bible teaches. Like, it's in the Bible, but it's also just common sense. And the thing that I think that the reason when I get to that level, and the reason that I appreciate the life that I'm living right now, and I think that it's a lot better than people give me credit for, the thing that, like, when people look at my life and they're like, you must be a fucking loser, you wasted your life, aren't you 25, why don't you have fucking kids and money in your bank account? The thing that I realized at the end of the journey of like self-actualization and individualization and following the true path to separate yourself from all the bad of the world and find out this higher vibrational stuff, and when I realized I'm supposed to be an example of that, is that most people can get to that conclusion, but with the way that they've decided to live in society with jobs and houses and constant chaotic social lives that they're managing, like their family situation and their social life and their work and their hobbies and all this stuff, that it creates this hole, and the only thing that can fill that hole is why the native tribes and like King Leonidas had to fight that wolf in 300 in the mountains. Ernest Hemingway said that in order to be a man, you have to kill a bull, have a son, and plant a tree. They're talking about this core, and the only way to get this core and get a way that won't be destroyed by the system is to live this life. If you don't have this, and you don't know the suffering of this right here, and the beauty of this, if you don't go through this, what I've been through with walking through the streets of Burlington cold with blisters, and everybody's giving me dirty looks, and people are talking, like, I'm always head on my shoulders because people have tried to kill me before, and I know that there's nowhere I can go in that wouldn't treat me like garbage, but I'm hungry, I need to get my needs met, and I have these dreams that I'm holding on, that I'm trying to make these songs in my heart, that I know that if I make them, everything will be so much better for everyone. So I'm fighting to make something that will heal and save people, and the world isn't letting me. And all the skills that, and the endurance and the strength that it takes, plus the eventual defeat when I had nothing and I was left out to the elements with nothing, and out here in the cold with just this, like just the sticks around me to try to build a shelter with nothing. I realized that was filling the core that everybody's missing. That was the medicine and that was the right fuel or building blocks or food, that was the only way in life, because it's like something that grows in you through over time, your experiences. It all coagulates into your core, and then eventually there are these tipping points where you push through and you can incorporate what you went through with who you were that you thought you lost. So you get to this point where you realize you never were lost. You were conditioned to believe that you were lost, and you had no way to cut through with who you really were. You were disengaged from yourself. You're disassociated. That was forced to like collapse. And some people, that's just a part of the human experience, and some people never get it back. I've noticed. Like I have friends that will never get it back. They might have grown into great people, but they'll never get it back. Because and I know people that like lost themselves to drugs, and they worked really hard, and they bought a trailer. They live like in like a double wide, in like not a trailer park, but like they have like 2 or 3 acres, and they work full time. They've got money in their bank account, but they're fucking screaming about junkies on Facebook, and they're messaging people, causing fights, and they're getting speeding tickets because they like get road rage. They stigmatized, and they don't see the value in this, so they'll never understand that this was what they needed. And if you've noticed, like if you guys are catching on, the fact that I said this is the most important part of the human experience, you need to understand this and have a foundation of this to be able to do anything, because it's not you that's doing it if you don't have this. If you notice, the government in the United States has made it completely impossible to do this. Sitting here, I have to be afraid that a cop is going to show up and attack me. Sitting here, I can't enjoy this because I know that there's a network of police spanning 20 miles around me, all the different police stations. Watch this, and they sit and plot and talk shit about me, and they are trying to take it from me. Homeless people are going missing. I think all of them were just swept out of DC. When they try to come up here, they're getting thrown in wood chippers. Whatever system in place that's governing everybody, the collective social structure, if you say it's a spiritual entity, whatever that is, hates the idea of somebody just sitting in woods that nobody else is using, making it look nice, building a little structure that's natural and will deteriorate over time, and just working on themselves. It's that thing with we found out that the riots, most of these riots that people put on the news where they were like, it got extremely violent and they had to open fire and they killed 3 of them, of the protesters. A lot of people are coming out and saying that they just saw the cop. They saw a cop leave for 5 minutes, and then another guy showed up with a bandana on and like covered, but he had the same build as that cop, went on the other side and chucked a Molotov or shot, which allowed the police to come bulldoze everybody and kill them. There's this espionage to this way of life, which makes me believe that they're against God and freedom. When there are active measures like people coming out and saying that third-party organizations that work for the United States government are paid to travel around to places and communities and take out people that are promoting an alternative lifestyle towards working 60 hours a week and suffering paying rent and eating the shitty foods because that's all they can afford. When you find out that there are third-party organizations that are paying like, it's probably I'd say like $500 million industry a year, maybe more, to have people targeting people that escape the Matrix. When you realize it's real, that there are government programs based around destroying people and labeling them schizophrenic, psychologically tormenting them, experimenting on them with AI through remote technology, like through the 5G waves, to get you going crazy so you kill your mom. And then you're in jail for the rest of your life. And then you find out that the people who founded those programs go to Bohemian Grove and they rape children on Epstein's Island. They put this satanic symbolism in your face. And they're like, okay, so the whole thing has always been this agenda towards... And the way that I put it yesterday, when I talked to that guy that walked up and told me that ancient cults might be interested in my bloodline without knowing anything about me, right before Tucker Carlson dropped that video talking about how the creators of AI understand it's satanic and they know what they're doing, and they publicly are admitting that they're speaking to demons. The people that are creating AI are publicly stating that they are speaking to demons on the other side of whatever this AI is a bridge towards, and they're working towards giving a vessel to these creatures. What came to me in that conversation with that man before that, when he gave me a sweater that's the same color as and the same design as a tarot video that a dog was wearing the same exact thing, suddenly found its way onto my YouTube page, is that imagine you have a rich dad and he keeps having babies and you live in a town where you're not allowed to leave. Eventually, you're going to get really mad about that. And eventually you'll buy a house. So your whole thing is trying to get as many other people away from your dad to buy their own houses and work together with you to build your own town and slowly take it over from the inside. So that no matter how many kids your dad keeps pumping out, there won't be any land for them to buy in the town. There won't be anywhere for them to go unless they leave their dad and join the people who own all the houses, and they own the farms now. They own the air we breathe in that controlled experiment. And their whole thing is to eventually get powerful enough to figure out how to defeat dad. That's what came out of me in conversation in the middle of a church to a bunch of strangers. And then suddenly Tucker Carlson drops. 3 more people dropped videos about it, like bigwigs in the global sphere. Brought up the same exact thing I just mentioned. That's where we're at. And I'm like, why are they so mad about me sitting here? Like, why is fucking these fat old white people so perturbed that I'm just chilling? Another big realization I had is that another thing that popped up on these podcasts that like the entire country watched yesterday. So I'd say a good percent, like especially the right wing, like the Trumpers, they love Tucker Carlson. So pretty much all of them yesterday were all on the same wavelength at this point, because they heard Tucker say it, is that one of the big things that he realized in his spiritual journey is that when he took drugs, he thought that it was an internal process where his brain was creating things and taking him on this sort of psychedelic hallucination where his brain was trying to figure itself out again. But what he realized when he got older is that those things that he thought were happening inside were coming to him from the external. Those thoughts that he was having were like little blips, like these mosquitoes that are flying around, or leaves falling from the trees. There were external stimulus from the collective consciousness that we're incarnated into. We're a part of it. Just like these birds that are flying and protecting me from the crows, and they're circling me, and as I'm talking, when I raise my vibration, they start to chirp a little bit higher, and then they bring it back down lower, and they try to center my heart space. The whole ecosystem is working with all of us. It's just we've been conditioned to be separate from it, so we're not helping them. When you can separate, what I talk about, when you can separate from that and you can get back in tune with nature, you become a part of it all. And that can be hard for me because I'm the 8th house, which deals with shared resources. So I'm really struggling with this energy exchange. There's the blue jay, which is a type of crow. Blue jays are in the corvus family. Suddenly, when I was talking about how I hate that the crows and the corvus they're genetically designed to harvest shared resources for themselves. They're a selfish, predatory species. So, and they ate Vivek's babies. They ate Vivek's kids. But Vivek had 18 more this year. And that's what's around me now, are the babies that I kept alive. That's what these chirps are. My god babies. My nigga. So damn right. I don't know. Basically what I was saying was that that thought came to me from over there, whatever that was. So what I've been trying to say for a long time is that I was having trouble because my external reality wasn't able to promote the type of consciousness that I have. My spirit needs a certain environment in order to get itself to the full potential. And the challenge that I think that I've incarnated with is that I don't have that. I'm from somewhere else. And I'm fighting to bring this back because I refuse to give up. So I'm always working towards spreading it. And in that fight, like a positive invasive species, like a probiotic to the environment, I'm spreading this wildfire of this intense 33 creative, passionate healing that is restructuring communities across Vermont. And that's why everywhere I go, people come up to me and they talk like me and they sound like me, and I'm like, I'm in a simulation. No, I've rooted myself across Vermont. So now we're sharing the resources. The things that I thought that I lost, people are returning to me. I don't know why they happen to be named Brian, Alex, Vincent, Jaden, Gary, Robert, Andrew, Matt, Haley, and then extensions of those names, like those main names, and then Jesse. And then the people that I find that surround those people's lives also come around. Oh, I forgot Frank. And that's why Matthew McConaughey in the movie about the wildfire that just came out called The Lost Bus, the first scene in The Lost Bus is Matthew driving and he looks back and goes, Casey, stop playing with the window. Kai Cenat, Kendrick Curry, Kirk Kaz, Kansas City Chiefs won in 2023, which is the year of the cat. I was born in the year of the cat. Blah, 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 blah. So I think, I mean, what I'm seeing now is that one time that voice that seems like Jesus or an angel or something bigger than myself, that used to really, when I was at my worst, was when it was most vocal, but now it's not, it's always there, but it doesn't speak to me as much. But when I was really like down and I could, like, taking one step felt like I had to give it 1,000%. And I was just like trudging through horrible stuff, deteriorated, completely traumatized, and just really like suffering in a way most people can't imagine. especially because I'm sort of like, you can see, like, I live in a very exaggerated, I see it rationally, but I also have this beautiful, like, highest vibrational perspective of it. So things hit me so much harder because there's just like this, I live in a coliseum of screaming angels, I guess. That's the best way to put it. Like, my thoughts are really huge. So even little things are big things to me. And that helps me with my art. And it helps me with moments where people are settled and my stories take their people that are older, that spent most of their life in the age of Pisces. This way that I talk and speak, this exaggerated sense, helps their belief systems go shoot all the way to Aquarius easily. And that's true according to a bird, because it's been flying around right to left. Every time I'm like, should I say it? Should I say it? That thing told me that some souls are too big to incarnate in just one body, and that they incarnated as multiple or possibly thousands, and that they all, their actual soul is the relationship tie between them and not really themselves as individuals. So they might stray away from each other, but the universe has always kept them coagulated because they're actually a substrate of God. Sort of like, say, like an AI that covers 1,000 phones, and only 1,000 phones, and that AI itself is growing from those 1,000 phones. But it's more like the opposite, where instead of growing and learning, it's from a higher place that's teaching. So some souls incarnate in the thousands to spread information. That's the type of level thinking that is like at the top of the tree of life. And that's what something told me, is that before I had put the correlation, like I never really thought about it until the year of my 2023 year of the cat. Before 2023, I like right at the end of 2022, I was like, it's kind of weird that I left Vermont and I got sent back to Vermont, and then the first person I met was my ex Jessie, and I tried to speak to her and she was in a bad spot, so I didn't, and I walked into a McDonald's, and then I met another girl named Jessie who was like everything that I felt that the old Jessie lacked, this Jessie had. And then the new Jessie she really, like, as soon as she met me, she got really bad. Like, she was really healthy, happy, functioning, and then at the end of it, she was telling me that demons were talking to her every night, and that she had met them after she met me. Like, the devil came to her and converted her, and she ended up choking her kid out, whose name was Vinny. Just like like, I could go back through years of Vinny's and Jesse's and Alex's and Gary's and whatever, but that, and Isaac's and all that. So then I left that Jessie and I went to a different parking lot, and then the first person I saw when I got into the parking lot and went to the dollar store to get a job was Jessie. And then I was talking to my cousin Jessie on Instagram the whole time, and then the things that this one Jessie was telling me, the exact same thing would come out of the other Jessie's mouth. They were both talking to me about the exact same thing at the exact same day. And then I left that and I moved back to the laundromat, and I was in the laundromat, and I was like, I don't want to talk to anybody. And I didn't talk to anybody for months because no one would hire me. They would trespass me. I'm like, it's better if I just leave it alone. I have a place I can make my music at night when I hide in the laundromat. But then a guy named Jesus, who's from Chicago, and he was indigenous, showed up and helped me, gave me money. Then the next day, Jessica showed up, gave me money. Then the next day, Jessie showed up. And then the next day, I got back in touch with that Jessie. And then the day after that, with the money I got, and I drove to Price Chopper to start door dashing again. And then the original Jessie that I said was bad with drugs was shooting up crack, hiding in the pumpkins outside Price Chopper while she was like 20, her 31-year-old boyfriend, who puts his cigarettes out on her, and they're both homeless together selling drugs, was in Price Chopper getting a bunch of shit on a cart. He was going to run out, and they were both going to run away together with the food. And I was trying to get Jessie into the car, and I was like, come with me. And I was going to bring her back to her dad, which her whole family has the same names that I talk about. And then it was just like for the next like couple weeks, it was like the same exact names just over and over and over again when I decided I wasn't going to talk to anybody. And then I had a dream where it was explained to me like I was finally ready to receive the information about that this is like a collective predestined dream, and you can't really stop fated destiny and fated events in a sense. And just like a higher, like getting me into the realization that time isn't real and that it's all generated from our consciousness, and we're actually inside of our consciousness. We're in our own head here, and all of us are in our own individual heads, and then together in this moderated sense of collective like creative consciousness, that all together, woven all of our different perspectives, generating this experience together, is the flower of life, which is the oldest symbol in recorded history. And that's what we've always known, because we didn't have any distractions back then, and I'm sure we had a way better way of communicating to the outside back then. So what can we all do to make it better? Literally is just like understand intake and outtake. Make sure you're taking the right things in and not taking things that are a detriment to you. I would, if you're somebody that follows routine very strictly, I would say learn to ease up, because that compartmentalized sense of like how you spend your time, you're kind of putting it into boxes and pockets. Learn to dissolve that and find the present moment again, because there are things with reality that you won't be able to recognize and enjoy. You won't be able to be grateful for the present moment, which will allow for a higher level of existence you never thought possible, in terms of like using your consciousness to generate reality, because you're so trapped in your compartmentalized usage of time. But if you're also really free, like I've become, where you kind of let everything go and you live so in the moment, learning how to channel that better into creating moments in the future and developing a sense of routine will help to channel that. The most important thing you can get is good water, sunlight, and food, because your body's always deteriorating and building itself back up. So when you change your influences, if you're not growing with consistency, you're at the whim of the society, this system in place to stop you from growing and individuating and knowing thyself. I am. Knowing thyself is the way. But Jesus didn't say, I am the way, follow me. Jesus said, be like me, I know myself, so know thyself is the way. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's where I would start. I mean, whoever's watching, take it seriously for 6 months. Try it. Put omega-3s on your counter, gummy multivitamins. That's $10, I think, for a month's supply. For me, it sucks because I'm on EBT, but if you have $10 to spare, try it. Change your habits, like instead of like whatever I can see a lot of people here probably lay down and indulge themselves with food, and that is the worst thing you can do. The best way, and it feels like suffering, like it'll bring up a lot of traumas you might not be ready for. And I'm not saying starve yourself completely, but I'm saying like learn to spend more time active, and then and then once you heal your gut microbiome, you'll start to understand exactly. Your body will tell you. It's not like eat a little bit and you'll feel, and then, oh, I'm still hungry. It's like you'll start to recognize exactly how much food your body needs. And then it, like most people that are healthy, when they go in excess, they can feel, it feels like they're hurting themselves, like they hate it. But the problem is, like, I'm sure the first time you smoked crack, whoever, I don't know who I'm talking to, the first time you did like hard drugs or something, or you cut yourself, like it hurt. But then you become addicted to it and it no longer hurts and you learn to love it. Even though to people that look outside, you're like, you're fucking hurting yourself. That's what overeating does. It's the same exact addiction. You forget that your body, you suppress that natural signal your body gives you, which is stop hurting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Got conditioned out of you. So when you learn to take a break from it all, is this some of my best work? When you learn to take a break from it all and allow yourself to, these parts of you that were kept hidden, allow them to come to the surface again. Stop trying to suppress it all and let it grow. And then you'll learn that because it's you, you've always been able to control the direction that it grows in. But if you're constantly fighting yourself, most people just become the thing that they feel is fighting them. They submit to the thing trying to possess them, and then they become not them. They do not know themselves. So it's really just to reiterate, my practice of finding yourself, self-individualization, and the real way that I think is the best way to become yourself and enjoy life yourself is that this separation from everything, and then the reintegration with your peace. How's that? The next thing is that Chosen One spiritual tests, there will be backlash from members of your communities and on the internet, supernatural forces, psychological terrorists. People will come against you because your peace, even though you're not imposing it on anybody, it's promoting a world that will disintegrate things like bullshitters, people that are trapped in things that they're hiding inside that they feel is essential to their survival, like people rooted in their ego, people that are in their real addiction, not like me taking the hit of the loon like this. I mean people like where I was when I was 18 and I was cheating on my girlfriend, constantly hunting to get with more girls. People like that type of addiction where it becomes their life. Those people are running from something that you will start to embody, we will start to embody. And those people will not be able to stand it. They're going to hate it and they're going to want to destroy it because it's not like a conscious decision. They think they're just fucking around having fun. They have all sorts of different mental gymnastics to justify their behavior. But really, the truth of it, the refined, like the undertone, the real sub thing that isn't mentioned is that it is just a dark force trying to grow and spread, trying to change you so that thing can continue to live. Boundaries is different for everybody. I haven't fully mastered it, but I also don't believe in property lines. That could be an issue. My issue that we can't own anything and that everything is fluid keeps me sort of psychotic, screaming at crows because I can feel them taking it and I'm trying to take it back. I guess the way this society formed is that they have property lines and they hide inside a collective delusion, which allows for it to be a little bit harder to take certain resources, even though they're, when I see them walking around, they're all hollow and lifeless, and they need to kill a deer to feel something. They need to take it from a dying animal, the stuff that the crows have already taken from them, and they don't realize because they've completely cut that part out of their existence. And that's why you have cops that are molesting people for fun. Just me, Joy. Howdy. I went off today. This is my Sermon on the Mount part 2. This is where I held that first Sermon on the Mount last year. I'm in the same area, and I thought the same stuff. My gang stalkers are sitting out there, the ones in the blue and the white car that follow me around. They just are there. So, it is what it is. The only other thing is that I am... One time I sat in the cabin, and I was like, I really wish I had a couch. Or if I could carry a couch, like a small couch that I thought about sawing it. Like, I'll saw a couch in half and then just take 2 individual halves of a couch, and then I'll just put it back together with like a sheet over it, or like a mattress topper, and I'll sleep on that in the tent, and that will help me get off the ground, and I'll be able to feel better. And then I need this, a chair, this. And one time I walked down the street, one morning or one night, I was like, let's go on a walk. And it just kept me, I kept telling myself, let's go on a walk. So I walked 5 miles down this mountain into town. And then as soon as I got there, I checked Marketplace. I was like, I wonder what's around. And I checked Marketplace, and every single thing that I asked for was just sitting up this hill, right by this big, nice reservoir place in this corner. Everything that I had asked for was just sitting there. I still needed to figure out, how am I going to get this? So I ended up having to carry it all 2 miles. And then I had to that's when I first met Bob, and I had to argue with Bob about it. He was mad at me because I put a couch on the school property, and I was like, it's just a couch, it'll be gone. But he's like, if it's not gone by noon, I'm throwing it out. And I'm like, school isn't even in session, but whatever. You know, it is what it is. But everything I asked for was right there. Also, one night I sat with God or whatever, the universe, and I said, just let me win $1 million in the lottery. And this is what I'll do with it. I'll buy land, I'll build a sanctuary, I'll build a studio, a gym. I'll start to create things and really restructure it. I'll finally get a portable power station so that I can do long form videos out here, time-lapse videos. I'll get a camera, bushcraft, and I'll start to show people an alternative life that will inspire them to do better. And then with that, I can just continuously generate some type of wealth that I will be able to spread across the country. And then I'll have a sort of overground railroad, sort of like the metaphysical tunnels for people that want to leave their life and find a better one. Come on, God. Just take a chance on me. You know, I just showed you exactly what I'll do. Get me there. And then I walked down in the morning, and then I heard God say, buy a lottery ticket. So I bought a lottery ticket for $3. I won $3, and then it said, go outside. And I walked outside, and then there was $1 million bill on the ground with scripture on the back of it. So I get stuff like that. This exact forest with the cabin, which is like 3 football fields that way. I'm not on anybody's property. Like the property, look, I'll show you. The property line is right there. You see that? And then it goes all the way back to there. So that is the property. And then it goes there and all the way down there. and then the cabin is pretty far that way. Nobody, like, the government owns this land. There's nothing here. It has no use. You can't build anything on it. It's just preserved forest land. So there's a bunch of dead trees around. It's dangerous. It's disrupting water flow. While I'm here, Vivek's here. Didn't we miss Vivek? You hear him? Vivek. Oh, it's right above me. Vivek, Natasha Robinoff, Clint Barfin. I was like, where'd they go? They're right. I found them. I was forced violently to find my friends again. And now they just hang out with me. So I called Carmel, where I got my birth certificate, and it turns out their website was wrong, and that $300 service fee was for it was for a collection of things. Just getting a copy of your birth certificate only cost $10. So I did spend my money. Crow right in front of me, taking position, because I'm talking about something in the future. Happiness, building a new life for the better. And now they show up. The Sagittarius in the 8th house, 33 life path. I'm with momentum going towards a goal to heal the world. And then my opposition is just right there. Because that's myself. And they don't want me to know thyself. So when I start to be myself, my true self, there's pushback. Wouldn't it be cool if I had a falcon? But it would eat Vivek. If I raised a baby golden eagle and I got certified in falconry and I kept him in a cage and then I let him out twice a day and I taught him how to hunt crows specifically and I taught him that birds are friends. Yeah. So, my hometown had something on the website that said it needed $300, but I called them and said, no, it's $10 and the link brought you to the wrong thing. So let me fix it. So they called a guy and then it fixed it. So it's only $10. So then I can get a social security card. And then if I want to find work, I can. I have court, my Satanist, it's not a schizophrenic delusion. I have a Freemason judge that I looked into what they believe, and they do satanic rituals. You can tell by the dates of his courts that his preferred dates for court and the way that he acts. And the way that I have him on camera responding to this high vibrational piece I talk about, where he literally curled his head like this, and he got really mad, and he started just really going off on the women in the room about me. Like, there were women in the room, and he started really trying to reassert the idea that I'm a piece of shit. He's constantly, every time, it's been 3 years now, every time I see him, he brings up the reminder that I was horribly traumatized in a police brutality situation, and that made me look bad. Like, when I showed up, I had red eyes because I had pepper spray in my eyes for 3 days, and I hadn't slept, so I had bags. So every time he sees me, he starts off by reminding me of that initial start of the relationship where he used that satanic beat down of my trauma to try to take my life force from me and hinder my progress, which caused me to stir in circles, angry at everything, because they had ritualistically harvested my life force. I remember him cackling, and I remember the way that he spoke to me then, and how dark his eyes looked, and how he just basically screamed at me, even though the charge was somebody bumped into me in the hallway. And then I missed court because the cops broke into my apartment because my dad lied to them because he was drunk. My dad got somebody, that's Beau is Afraid Truman Show level targeting that happened to me before I knew anything about this stuff. So obviously, without that information to understand what I was going through, it was really overwhelming. plus real trauma then destroyed my reputation in the community completely. People went from, forcing me into this archetype of the sick dog, when before people really respected me. People were inviting me on the radio. They wanted me to be a public speaker and talk about DCF. They wanted me to be a lifeguard and be around kids. After the lie that I fought the police and was ultimately defeated when they didn't explain anything and they just attacked me, and I was like, what are you doing? Stop. And I raised my arms. The way they framed it to justify what their illegal behavior, everybody since, no one has ever hit me up. The entire community went no contact after that. I lost everything. And then my mom will occasionally, when I start to build back and the community is paying attention to me more, suddenly my mom is trying to ruin it in the community. And that's been the case for a long time, where I notice that, like, I'm at a party and I finally make friends and I'm separated from her and she's trying. I went to Miami and she messaged the guy I was hanging out with. Every time I get a personal win, there's a gaslighting force trying to turn the world against me. Whether it's my mom or using my mom. It's like, how fucking simple. Like, a normal person doesn't think like that. A normal person doesn't sit with a portable power station knowing I need a portable power station, and it sits right next to her, and she stares at my face on a screen and goes, I don't know how the fuck I can help this guy. And I'm like, have you thought about just giving me that portable power station? You can see all my money's going towards these power banks that are dying so I can live out here. You have a nice one that will last a long time, and by then you can see that I'm growing a community and I'm getting money from it sometimes. I'll be able to pay for mine with the long form content that the live streams will give me, and I'll just buy my own and give it back or just replace yours. But she's like, no, there's going to be a zombie apocalypse and I'm going to need it. And I'm like, you fat fucking broken heart. You stand up too fast and have a heart attack. You think in a zombie apocalypse you're going to make it to that tree line before someone fucking kills you, rapes you, and skins you and uses your skin as a flag? No, you disgusting cretin. Get the fuck out of my life. You just make excuses to perpetuate your addiction to your victimhood. And then God made your only son a victim to show you what it's really like. And now you can't stand it. You feel jealous and angry and you try to destroy it, dismantle it, not disrespect, but just like discredit it. And you get together with your other fat cunt friend, your only fat other friend, and you guys talk shit and try to convince my cousin. And eventually you gaslight him and he gets stuck in his victimhood. I hate everything. I'm going to be in Section 8 the rest of my life. And you all just sit around hating. And then I came back and you guys were so delusional. You were all schizophrenic. I got back and sat on the couch and then they all freaked out and called the police. Or they called a guy named Frank to show up and be their bodyguard while they took all my stuff and put it at the door. Because I said I'm going to go on a walk. I went on a walk and came back and they threw all my stuff out and they got a bodyguard. Because in my quietness, just me not saying anything at all, probably demonic forces, their own delusions, and they're like, it's not schizophrenia, it's just such a level of dysfunction that you would assume so. And they project that onto me, like I said about the labels, to disassociate themselves from it. So they don't have to acknowledge it and take accountability for themselves. And that happens all the time. And it's not just them, it happened to every one of my friend groups. So for me, it felt like the entire world had gotten taken by the Antichrist. And I was the only one with common sense left just because of my persistent oppositional defiance, I guess. Where I'm like, I'm not going to let it change me. I can see how many things are trying to change it. I can feel it. I know how hard they're working to stop it. So obviously, I'm just going to hold on and sit here, and at the end of it, something's going to happen. And then I grew like a tree, and then they came to destroy it. And I fought, and I grew like a tree again. This one was a bit worse, and then they fought and destroyed it. And now I'm still here as a seed, and I'm trying to get back a little bit every day. And then I got a big breakthrough, and then they came to destroy it again. So then I left, and I'm holding on to it, and I've planted myself again, and we'll see what happens. Do you know what I'm saying? Nobody's talking. I don't know. I thought the GoFundMe was nice. When I can think and I can disassociate from things like feeling like there's another person's personality in the airwaves constantly trying to gain control of me, and I'm fighting that off, and the birds are really trying to help me fight it off, but I can see it. Just this sort of attachment that's always siphoning out my ability to think. In the few times that I can get away from that and I can be myself and start to think clearly, it's so obvious, my potential. I know I could put together a movement like that, and I think that that force doesn't want me to. And because of society, I haven't found a way to break free. I can't. That's why homeless people are running around screaming at nothing. If I were to run around screaming at nothing, I would be hospitalized, and they'd call disorderlies on me. They'd try to entrap me into resisting arrest by like hurting me during the arrest process. Then they would have me brought in front of a black magician, Freemason, satanic judge to take out the rest of me that was left, just because I was trying to fight back against the system. So I'm doing my best. But yeah, clean your rooms. Just fucking clean your rooms. It's Libra season. It's going to be easier. Virgo season for most people with depression. That's when you're supposed to clean your room. And that's probably like a lot of you probably got pretty messy because of the enemy trying to stop you from what your soul's trying to do. Virgo season, everybody's supposed to go hermit mode, introspect, clean, and refine. So most people that I saw got much messier. People that aren't, they're too pushed back by the enemy. So now that it's Libra season and we're supposed to be refining our ideas and finding balance and everything and judgment and like really the restructuring of our relationships, it was supposed to be easy because we had built the good house in hermit mode. But now it's going to be easier to clean your house. So I would say get that done right away. Make sure your whole space is clean. Fucking bleach it, vinegar, whatever. Make sure all the spaces are clean while it's still warm before it gets cold. Like really prepare for being stuffed in the winter, because you don't want to be living with the bacteria that's growing in your spaces during the winter. And if you don't, it's your fault. I would say the best thing if you don't do it is to delete all your social media. Never talk to another person again until you do it, until you start to take care of yourself, because you are actively ruining the lives of everyone around you. If you don't start taking care of yourself and living in a nice space and doing this work, the only thing you'll do for anybody is make their lives worse. So I'll leave it at that. Later.